SLT Fibre and experience the power of fibre technology. Sri Lanka's only super fast internet connection. SLT Fibre. Call 1212 now.
Tonight, a disheartening cardinal. Archbishop of Colombo disappointed over post-Easter negligence, questions the failure to reveal findings of commission reports. Firing back, a furious president reacts to criticism over failed political leadership. More time, case against chief suspects of the Easter massacre moved to October. Hong Kong protests. Night of violence shocks city after masked attackers beat protesters. All these stories and much more coming up on First at 9 this Monday, the 22nd of July.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
මොහොන සති කීපයකට කලින් Fair and Lovely men ගෑවට පස්සේ මාක්ස් අඩු වෙලා ෆෑනස් වැඩි වෙලා.
මාක්ස් අඩු කරලා ඔයාගේ ෆෑනස් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක වැඩි කරගන්න. Fair and Lovely men anti marks cream.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now, Sri Lanka extended for a third time a state of emergency in the island. Thereby, emergency laws will be in place for a further month with effect from today. President Marty issued an extraordinary Gazette notification today proclaiming his decision as per powers vested in him by Chapter 40 of the Public Security Ordinance. In his decree, the head of state said that the decision was made in the interest of the public security, preservation of public order and maintenance of supplies and services essential to the life of community. A state of emergency was first declared in Sri Lanka on April 22nd, a day after the Easter Sunday massacre, and was extended twice earlier prior to today's expansion. Former Defence Secretary Sri Fernando and IGP Pooji Jayasundara appeared before the Colombo Magistrates Court today over the case against the duo for failing to prevent Easter attacks. During proceedings today, the Colombo Chief Magistrate ordered to produce a progress report on 3rd of October pertaining to ongoing investigations. The case filed against former Defence Secretary Sri Fernando and IGP Pooji Jayasundara for allegations of criminal negligence, murder and failure to prevent or at least minimise damages caused during the Easter Sunday terrorist attacks was taken up before the Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna today. Appearing on behalf of the Criminal Investigation Department, Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Piris informed court that statements have been recorded from the former Defence Secretary while questioning of the IGP have commenced. Meanwhile, speaking on behalf of the defendants, President's Counsel Anuja Premaratna and Dilshan Jayasuriya stated that media statements issued by the Attorney General's Department with regard to the relevant case has defamed their clients. The attorney urged the court to pay attention to the matter as such media statements would prompt the general public to criticise judicial rulings publicly. In response, the Deputy Solicitor General stated that every government institution works in accordance with the Establishment Code and that they are obliged to disclose relevant information under the Right to Information Act. The Chief Magistrate ordered the Deputy Solicitor General to inform the Attorney General on the matter and call for a report to be produced on the 3rd of October regarding the progress of the investigations into the case. The Attorney General's Coordinating Secretary, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratna, meanwhile stated that the said communique which issued on 18th of this month pertaining to a revision application against the Colombo Chief Magistrate's order to grant bail to Jayasundara and Fernando was issued with the approval of the Attorney General. President Maithripala Sirisena fired back on criticisms levelled against him regarding the ongoing investigations of the Easter Sunday attacks. Speaking at an event held in Colombo, the head of state said that if there are any shortcomings in the investigations, he is ready to hold open discussions.
An event dubbed Satviru Abhiman to provide welfare beneficiary funds to war heroes was held at the BMICH under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
අපිට සති 3ක් වගේ කාලය තුල ඒ ත්‍රස්තවාදීන් සම්පූර්ණයෙන් විනාශ කරන්නත් ඊට සම්බන්ධ අය අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්නත් ඒ සියලු කටයුතු අපි නොඅඩුව ඉෂ්ට කළා තිබෙනවා. සිදුවීම වළක්වා ගැනීමට තිබුණු ප්‍රශ්නයේදී වගකීම ඉෂ්ට කළේ නොකළේ කවුද කියන එක සෑම කෙනෙක්ම දන්නවා. අනවශ්‍ය විවේචන, අවලාද, අපහාස, නින්දා කොයි ආකාරයෙන් එක එක්කෙනා කළත් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් කටයුතු කළ යුතුව තිබූ ප්‍රධාන නිලධාරීන් දෙදෙනාගෙන් සිය වගකීම සහ යුතුයකම ඉෂ්ට නොවීම නිසා ඒ සිද්ධිය වුණා කියන එකත් අපි හැම කෙනෙක්ම දන්නවා. ඒ ගැනත් පරීක්ෂණ තිබෙනවා. නමුත් මම දැක්කා ඊයේ ප්‍රකාශ මාස 3ක් පිරෙන වෙලාවේ මේ පරීක්ෂණ හරියට කෙරිලා නැහැ. ආණ්ඩුවේ නායකින්ට පිටකොන්ද නැහැ. ඒකින්ද ආණ්ඩුවේ නායකයෝ ගෙදර යන්න ඕන. අපි ගෙදර යන්න තමයි ඉන්නේ. අපි පදිංචි වෙන්න ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. හිටපු ආණ්ඩුවේ දූෂණ වංචා හොයන්න ජනාධිපති පරීක්ෂණ කොමිෂන් සභාපත් කෙරුවා. තියෙන ආණ්ඩුවේ දූෂණ වංචා හොයන්න ජනාධිපති පරීක්ෂණ කොමිෂන් සභාව කෙරුවා. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේදී කොතන හෝ වැරද්දක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙනවා නම් ඔය කියන විදිහට කොයි හරි හංගලා තිබෙනවා නම් හැංගිලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ඕන කෙනෙකුට පුළුවන් එළියට ඇවිල්ලා අධිකරණයට යන්න. ජනාධිපතිවරයාට, අගමැතිවරයාට නම කියන්නේ නැතුව, තනතුර කියන්නේ නැතුව හැබැයි එල්ල කරන්නේ පිටකොන්ද නැහැ කියලා දේශපාලන න්‍යාය පත්‍ර. හැංගිලා ගහන්න ඕන නැහැ. මාත් එක්ක ඕන විවෘත සාකච්ඡාවකට එන්න කියලා මාධ්‍ය ඉස්සරහා මම ආරාධනා කරනවා.
The Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Ranjit, is disappointed over the habit of the country's political leadership to bow down to international pressure. While repeatedly calling for a thorough investigation into the Easter attacks, Cardinal Ranjit also expressed dismay on the lack of transparency in the findings of probes carried out so far into the April 21st attacks. The Archbishop of Colombo was speaking at a religious event in Bellanville yesterday.
A Bodhi Puja offering was held at the Bellanville Rajamahavihara temple yesterday to invoke blessings on Easter attacks victims.
පාස්කු ඉදින සිදුවීම ගැන නොයෙකුත් කොමිෂන් සභාව වාර්තාවල් දුන්නයි කිව්වා. නමුත් මේ එක වාර්තාවක්වත් එළිදරව් කරලා නැහැ. තාමත් ඉල්ලා හිටින්නේ පරිපූර්ණ විමර්ශනයක් පවත්වලා සත්‍ය අපිට එළිදරව් කරන්න කියලා. නායකයන්ගේ පුරුද්දක් තියෙනවා ජාත්‍යන්තරයට හිස දැමීම. ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ සිද්ධිය යට ගියේ. එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ මණ්ඩලය කියන්නේ ලෝකයේ බලගතු රටවල් වලට පොඩි රටවල් පාලනය කරන්න හදලා තියෙන සංවිධානය. අපි ඉතාමත්ම ලොකු වේදනාවකින් පසු වෙනවා. මාස 3ක් ගිහිල්ලා මේ කිසිම වාර්තාවක් අපිට ලැබුණේ නැහැ.
Chairman of the Election Commission Mahinda Deshapriya says the presidential election can be held during the period between November 15th and December 7th this year. Speaking to media today, Chairman of the Commission went on to say that the President too has informed the Election Commission that polls will be held on the 7th of December and that he will not seek the advice of the Supreme Court regarding his term in office.
ඡන්දේ තියන්න ළඟ පුළුවන් ළඟම දවස නොවැම්බර් 15 දෙසැම්බර් 7 තමයි ළඟම දිනේ. සමහර කෙනා සුප්‍රීම කෝට් එකට ගිහලා වෙනස් කරයි. නමුත් ජනාධිපතිතුමාම එතුමාම ප්‍රකාශ කළා තියෙන නිසා 7 වෙනිදා එතුමා අධිකරණයට යන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක. සහ එතුමා අපි සමග ප්‍රවසාකච්ඡාවලදී අපිට ප්‍රත්‍යක්ෂ වුණ බව. ඔක්තෝබර් 15 පස්සේ ජනාධිපතිවරණයට පළාත් සභා ඡන්ද විසීම තියන්න ගියොත් අපට ඒක මෙහියුම් කටයුතු වලට බාධා වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඔක්තෝබර් 15ට පෙර තියන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට හැකියාවක්. හැබැයි දැන් ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට ඔප්ෂන් දෙකක් අපි පෙන්වා දුන්නා. එකක් සීමා නිර්ණය වාර්තාව සමාලෝචනය කිරීම සඳහා පත් වූ කොමිටුව. කිසිදු සමාලෝචනයක් සිදු කර නැති බැවින් සමාලෝචන වාර්තාවක් නොසලකා පැරණි සීමා නිර්ණය වාර්තාව ගැසට් කිරීමට හැකියාව තිබේද? එවන් නැත්නම් මේ සමාලෝචන වාර්තාවක් බාර නොදීපු නිසා 2017 අංක 17 දරන පනත තවදුරටත් ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න බැරි නිසා ඒ පනත වළංගු නැහැ. එබැවින් පරණ පනතට යන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ මතය විමසලා තීන්දුවක් ගන්න. එතුමා මට කිව්වා සිකුරාදා මම ගරු නීතිපතිතුමාට සියලුම ලිපිගොනු බාර දීලා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ක්‍රියා කරන ලෙස එතුමාට දැන්වයි කියලා.
දැන් මේ අනුකූල ජනාධිපතිවරණට කලින් පළාත් සභාව තියාගන්න බැරිද?
අධිකරණයේ තීන්දුවක් ආවොත් හැක්කේ. නැත්තම් බෑ.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna Professor G.L. Piris reveals that opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa will enter a memorandum of understanding on Friday with 10 political parties that do not have parliamentary representation. The decision has been taken following discussions with 18 such political parties over the past 2 weeks.
ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකය හැටියට තෝරාගන්නේ මේ මැතිවරණය දිනන්න පුළුවන් පුද්ගලයා. පහුගිය සති දෙක තුල බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් අපි මේ කාර්යාලයේ සාකච්ඡා පැවැත්වුවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ නියෝජනයක් නැති පක්ෂ 18ක් එක්ක. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ සිකුරාදා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් අවබෝධතා ගිවිසුම් අත්සන් කිරීමට පක්ෂ 10ක් එක්ක. වෙන නමක් ගැන කතා කරන වෙන ලකුණක් ගැන කතා කරන හැබැයි මේ එකම ආණ්ඩුව
Former General Secretary of the United National Party Tissa Attanayaka intends to implement a new program with the objective of electing a leader Sri Lanka crave for in the upcoming presidential election. Attending the meeting conducted by Attanayaka, General Secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaraweera says that no final call made on joining hands with the faction.
අපි 29 වෙනිදා හවස 2ට කොළඹ නවනගර ශාලාවේදී පරමාදර්ශී දේශපාලනයක් සඳහා වූ ජනතා ව්‍යාපාරයේ ජාතික වැඩපිළිවෙල ජනගත කරන්න සූදානම් වෙනවා.
දැන් අලුත් සංධානයක් අද හදනවා මේ සංධානය සම්බන්ධයෙන් බුදුමාලකට සාකච්ඡා කරලා.
ඔවුන් ඉතින් බෑදිලි කළ දුන්නේ ඊළඟට 2020 ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක් බිහි කරනකොට ඒකට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් පුද්ගලෙක් ඉලක්ක කරලා නෙමෙයි ඔවුන් සකස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. අදහස් බොහොමයක් දැනගත්තා මේ පිළිබඳව අපි ඉදිරියේදී සාකච්ඡා කළා. කොහොමද ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ කියන එක පිළිබඳව බලනවා.
We will now cross over to a short commercial break. Sri Lanka's nationwide inflation slowed to 2.1% in June from 3.5% in May this year, the lowest in 5 months. Core inflation, which reflects the underlying inflation in the economy, slowed to 6.1% in June 2019 from 6.3% in May 2019. The central bank said the fall in the National Consumer Price Index in June was owing to the high base in the same month of the previous year. In the food category, prices contracted by 2.9% in June 2019 from a year ago, while non-food inflation was 6.2%. A statement said that when the monthly change is considered, the National Consumer Price Index increased by 0.4% in June 2019, with increases in prices of items in both food and non-food categories. The Minister of Finance noted that 55,000 loans amounting to 88 billion rupees have been disbursed under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme, which was launched in June of last year. Speaking to media, State Minister of Finance Arun Wickramaratne highlighted that only about 3% of the working population in Sri Lanka are entrepreneurs, requiring more efforts to promote entrepreneurship in the country. Enterprise Sri Lanka was launched with the aim of achieving 1 million new jobs, doubling exports and achieve more than 5% continuous GDP growth in the country through entrepreneurship. A media briefing was convened today to discuss the second installment of Enterprise Sri Lanka exhibition, which will be inaugurated in Anuradhapura on Wednesday. The Ford exhibition will provide technical support as well as facilitate entrepreneurs to obtain loans under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme.
Sri Lanka's entrepreneurship is regarded as very low in terms of the numbers. And Sri Lanka has less than 3%. The exhibition is one way of getting close to people so that they could come and see the history of entrepreneurship in Sri Lanka. And often capital loans are things that people have new ideas don't have. Then the loan schemes and then meeting the banks, the bank officials, that opportunity is there. There are workshops in there. We have private sponsors because we have more than 500 stalls. Since we launched this program, that actually about 55,000 loans have been given, right, as of now, and about 88 billion rupees have been dispersed under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme.
There's also a bit of a concern about the working capital loans. Can you please update on the status of that?
Working capital loan facility will be granted up to 250 million based on the previous year turnover of the respective hotel law entity. There is a grace period, 1 year grace, that the tenor is 2 years.
Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade Malik Samaravikrama cautions that Sri Lanka is running the risk of being left behind if the country does not liberalise its trade. The minister's thoughts on the topic came at the launch of the Sri Lanka United Kingdom Bilateral Trade and Investment Research Report recently in Colombo. Also speaking at the launch event, British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka James Doris observed that the business community should work hand in hand with the government to counter any opposition to sensible decisions that should be made.
It would be too much to say that trade and investment between Sri Lanka and the UK is critically important to either of our countries' economies. I would, however, insist that thriving foreign trade is critical to our economies. The business community needs companies that are leading in their fields to help take forward changes and support the government with efforts to liberalise the market and make it easier to do business. Hand in hand with this responsibility goes a responsibility for supporting the government, for standing with the government when it wants to take sensible steps but is meeting opposition.
We are seeking some preferential trade agreement between our two countries following Britain's exit from the European Union. Ideally, the continuation of the GSP Plus equivalent benefits and leading towards an FTA in the future. Sri Lanka can offer ethically manufactured, environmentally responsible, high quality products for the British market, and our preferential access needs to continue regardless of Britain's membership for the European Union. Trade liberalisation is a must if we are to progress and prosper. We all should be concerned that Sri Lanka is at risk of being left behind. The next FTA to come, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP, would be the world's largest economic bloc with 16 countries encompassing about 1/3 of the global GDP and almost half the world's population. We have begun talks on FTA with Thailand, which is the current ASEAN chair. We have never had better prospects for integration with this dynamic East Asian bloc than we have today. Now I believe the chambers need to strongly champion the cause of openness, not just mildly believe in it. Currently we have a protectionist trade regime that benefits a few hundred firms at the expense of millions of consumers and households.
For councils like ours, it's absolutely imperative that we all make sure that Sri Lanka is at the forefront of people's minds in terms of investments from the countries that we represent. And Sri Lanka really needs to be ready to accept the competition from overseas. And I'd like to now borrow from the BOI's key target sectors where we think the main opportunities to invest. And these are in areas like high value add manufacturing, IT services, tourism, logistics, education, finally large scale infrastructure.
Colombo shares closed lower today, snapping an 8-session gaining streak as investors booked profits. The Osha price index ended 0.97% down at 5,659.77. We now have a brief report on today's market performance.
The bond market commenced the week on a flat note with a moderate volume, while the overall yield curve remained broadly unchanged. The stock market closed negative, reverting back to the positive sentiment witnessed the last 8 trading sessions. Market ended in a red from the 4-month high, gaining during the period, dragged down by John Keells and Carson's. All share price index witnessed a continued downtrend and closing the intraday low of 5659, losing 55 points.
The Sri Lanka rupee trade weakened 0.09% weaker to 175 rupees and 90 cents to 176 rupees per dollar as the imported demand for the greenback outpaced the dollar selling by banks. Here's a look at the day's forex rates. We will join you with news from overseas right after this commercial break, so make sure you stay tuned. India successfully launched its second lunar mission a week after it halted the scheduled blast-off due to a technical snag. Chandrayaan-2 was launched at 2:43 p.m. local time from the Sri Lanka space station. India hopes the $145 million mission will be the first to land on the moon's south pole. The spacecraft has now entered the Earth's orbit, where it will stay for 23 days before it begins a series of maneuvers that will take it into the lunar orbit. If successful, India will become the 4th country to make a soft landing on the moon's surface after the former Soviet Union, United States and China. Well, Hong Kong has been left in shock when protests were held and obviously anti-government protesters were attacked. Hong Kong police faced heavy criticism both locally and internationally for an apparent failure to protect anti-government protesters and passers-by from the attack. This is the first time in the ongoing anti-extradition demonstration escalated to such level of violence.
Last night, men in white t-shirts, some armed with poles, flooded into the rural Yung Long station in Hong Kong and stormed a train attacking passengers. Witnesses said they appeared to target black shirt passengers who had been at an anti-government march. The attack came after several thousand activists surrounded China's representative office in the city, later clashing with police amidst the widening political crisis over an extradition bill to send people to mainland China for trial. Footage of a Hong Kong journalist beaten up live on air is heavily circulated on social media sites as well. "45 people were injured with one person in critical condition. Hong Kong police said today that they had not made any arrests at the station or during a follow-up search but were still investigating. This apparent failure by police to protect anti-government protesters and passers-by is drawing heavy criticism at the moment.
Downing Street has repeated its calls for Iran to immediately release a British flag tanker that was seized in the Gulf on Friday. Prime Minister Theresa May chaired the meeting of Britain's Emergency Committee to receive updates and discuss security in the area. Her official spokesman described the seize of the ship as unacceptable and highly escalatory. Amid reports that British ministers are considering freezing Iranian assets, the Foreign Secretary is expected to set out for the next steps to parliamentarians later. Holding the meeting of Britain's Cabinet Office briefing room's Emergencies Committee was one of Theresa May's final important acts as Prime Minister before resigning on Wednesday. COBR meetings typically bring together ministers, security intelligence and military chiefs in a secure facility in central London. Iran says it has arrested 17 spies who it says were working for the CIA and sentenced some of them to death. The intelligence ministry said the suspects had been collecting information in vital sectors, including military and nuclear areas of activity. US President Donald Trump has dismissed the claim, saying the report is totally false. Iran made today's announcement in state media, saying the alleged spies had been arrested in the 12 months to March 2019. At a time when Minister of Sports Harin Fernando has called for the resignations of the national cricket team's coaching staff, head coach Chandik Hathurisinghe expressed surprise over the matter. He made this comment responding to journalists at a media briefing organised ahead of the Bangladesh tour of Sri Lanka.
ඉඩා අමාත්‍යවරයා ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා මෙම තරගාවලියෙන් පස්සේ කෝචින් ස්ටාෆ් එකේ වෙනසක් කරන්න කියලා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ වශයෙන් ඔබතුමන්ලට එහෙම නිල වශයෙන් නිවේදනයක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවද මොකක්ද ඒ ගැන කරන්න යන්නේ
මේක ඊටාම තියුණු ප්‍රශ්නයක් මොකද අපි ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල්ස් ලයික් ඩීල් කරන්නේ හෙට අපේ තියෙනවා විදායක කොම්පලු රැස්වීමක් ඒකෙදී අපි ඒක සාකච්ඡා කරලා තීරණයක් ගැනීමට තමයි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ කාගේවත් හිත අමනාප කරන්නේ නැතුව මොකද අපි දන්නවා ලංකාවට තියෙනවා නරක රෙපියුටේෂන් එකක් hire and fire කියලා අපේ කෝචස්ලා ඉතින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා හොඳ විදිහකට කොහොමරි මේ ප්‍රශ්නය निराකරණය කරගන්න.
Is this going to be your last series as coach of the Sri Lanka team?
I don't know that. No one has told me that. I haven't heard from anybody relevant to me from that's going to change the coaching staff. To be very honest, I just heard from him just now. I have to wait till what they're going to tell me and then I will make my decision.
Shakib is not on tour. When he's not playing, you're kind of missing not just a batsman, top three, you're also missing one of your lead bowlers. So how do you plan to sort of rejig the team balance for the upcoming tour?
The guys been picked in this 15, they all are very, very capable. I really don't like to talk who's not in the team at the moment. I know he's special. He has done fantastically well for Bangladesh, but he's not touring in this tour. I got another 15 players to look after, and I'm sure whoever play on the first ODI in the 11, they need to make sure that they cash into their opportunities.
A week ago, New Zealand faced an unfortunate defeat at the ICC Cricket World Cup final, but yesterday the country woke up to news that swept away much of the upset as they stunned 11-time champions Australia to win the 2019 Netball World Cup. The victory came by a margin of 1 point in Liverpool yesterday.
Netball World Cup 2019 against New
In
Zealand.
a thrilling final, victory swayed both ways, with New Zealand and Australia having equal chances of winning the game. The Kiwis, however, did not disappoint their country as they prevailed 52-51, winning the Netball World Cup title by a single point.
Can you believe it? New Zealand have won the World Cup.
With a win, New Zealand has 5 world titles carved under their name.
There's shock, there's belief. What a story from the New Zealand silver.
South Africa having to go back nearly from Clark.
Meanwhile, England clinched bronze with a 58-42 victory over South Africa earlier yesterday.
And Halsby continues that.
But the buzzer goes! The performance that everybody involved with England wanted. They win the bronze medal, 58 goals to 42.
Great Britain's Adam Peaty has won the 100-meter breaststroke at the World Aquatic Championships in South Korea, his third successive gold in the event. The 24-year-old clocked 57.14 seconds to comfortably beat compatriot James Wilby, with China's Yan Zibi in third. Peaty is unbeaten in 5 years over the distance in major competitions and will compete in the 50-meter tomorrow. The semi-final saw him break his own world record, becoming the first man to swim the event in under 57 seconds. Meanwhile, Australian swimmer Mac Horton has publicly reignited his feud with Chinese rival Sun Yang, refusing to share the medal podium, previously having accused Yang of being a drug cheat. Chinese swimmer Yang, who has faced fresh claims of violating doping protocols, defeated Horton to claim gold in the 400-meter freestyle at the World Aquatic Championships in South Korea yesterday. Horton had previously said he was unhappy that the Chinese swimmer was allowed to compete ahead of a court of arbitration for sport hearing over charges of smashing vials of his blood in a clash with testers. And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.